In the summer of 2013, the promise had been made. The community was watching, and RRG Studios had a mountain to climb. Welcome to Act 2 of our story. The adventure begins. At its core, the DCS World War II Kickstarter was a bold gamble. But it wasn't launched by amateurs. Ilya Shevchenko, known as Luthier, had been a creative force in Maddox games. The makers of IL-2 Sturmovik. He had helped build the original standards for World War II flight simulation. Alongside him were several other veterans of that scene. But by the time the Kickstarter wrapped, questions were already forming. Who exactly was the full team behind this? Where were they working? How would they deliver? Based on community sleuthing and interviews, the development team was small and distributed. There was no central office. Most developers were working remotely across Europe and the US, coordinating via Skype, forums, and shared repositories. RRG Studios was not a large resource company. It was a small team of passionate sim developers trying to build a AAA grade World War II experience inside another developer's engine. Eagle Dynamics, for their part, remained hands-off. While they supported the idea and offered back-end integration help, they didn't directly manage the project. This turned out to be a crucial point of vulnerability. The community response at first was positive. Many long-time simmers, veterans of IL-2 and warbirds, jumped on board, excited by the promise of clickable cockpits and a high-fidelity Normandy experience. DCS had long been dominated by jets, but this was the first serious push into piston-engine air combat. At the time, the major World War II competition was IL-2, Battle of Stalingrad, which had launched its own new engine called Digital Nature. While it had some depth, it lacked clickable cockpits and the sandbox flexibility DCS offered. For many, DCS World War II promised the best of both worlds. The scope of the project was ambitious. 5 flyable aircraft, AI assets, including a B-17 bomber, a full Normandy terrain map with airfields and towns, and even groundwork for a single-player campaign and dynamic mission content. By campaign close, RRG had raised over $158,000 from approximately 2,300 backers. The average backer pledged around $65, with higher-tier pledges offering things like alpha access, custom liveries, and signed artwork.
Gentlemen, the battle of the Kickstarter is over. The battle of DCS World War II is about to begin. Also, keine Sorgen, Schweiber. We actually did it, you guys. We actually did it. We not only reached the base goal, we actually put in a whole new flyable aircraft into DCS World War II. That is just an amazing result.
Initially, progress appeared steady. Work in progress screenshots were posted. A few brief videos showed cockpit interactions. Development blogs hinted at terrain progress. But soon, the pace of updates slowed. The community began asking more questions. Timelines slipped. Promised monthly updates were missed. Behind the scenes, the project was straining. The team was smaller than necessary for a project of this scope. Key features, like terrain and AI bombers, proved more time-consuming than expected. And, crucially, the money was running out. Kickstarter may have been the only funding source, it turned out. There was no publisher capital behind the effort beyond ED's general platform support. Oleg Maddox, whose name had been used heavily in marketing, was not directly managing the project. He had retired from sim development earlier and was listed only as an advisor. His actual day-to-day involvement was minimal. This crucially caused much confusion, as many believed Maddox's leadership would anchor the project, and led to a feeling that an attempt had been made to be misleading. By early 2014, it was clear the project was in deep trouble. Backers were growing restless. Forum posts turned angry. Some blamed ED for not stepping in. Others blamed Ilya for overpromising. By April 2014, the cracks had become fractures. Delays were now counted in quarters. Only a few assets were nearing completion. The Spitfire Mark IX was behind schedule. The Normandy map was still conceptual. The P-47 was far from flyable. At this point, ED began quietly increasing their internal support, helping with testing and coding assistance. However, despite the additional help, the project was still sliding toward collapse. And then, silence. Next, in Act 3, the collapse, the takeover, and the aftermath.